Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life Podcast.
Welcome to the Towing Life Podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, TowManG, and as usual, I am joined by my friend, co-host, and former co-worker. I fucked that up, but we're just going to roll with it. This is PlainGuy. He's the one chain wonder. I am TowManG. You should already be acquainted with us already. You've probably listened to an episode or two before. What's going on, PlainGuy?
Oh, that was absolutely brutal, G. That was absolutely brutal, but I love it. You are right. If you are not acquainted with the show, where the hell have you been this whole time? If you are acquainted with the show, you know that, well, we fuck up just like the rest of them. So before we get into, I want to ask you how your day was. I want to ask you how your week is. You know, you don't have a wife at home, so somebody's got to ask you. It might as well be me.
I'm just going to call you my diary, and all you people out there. I had a pretty good day. I had a call that I had to fight for through a roadside. I got it, and then I stuck it to the roadside, made the in-town tow turn into a 120-kilometer tow that they had to pay for a cab. Anyways, got out there, dropped that off, was on my way back, and they were like, hey, we got another call for you up north about an hour and a half away for you for a 1-ton cube van. I was like, oh, perfect. I have no wrenches in this truck to drop a drive shaft. I guess I get to go shopping with boss man's money. So I walked into the Crappy Tire, got some wrenches, and there's a socket set on sale. It was normally like $350 on sale for $100 or $99.99. So you know I had to buy it. So I bought that, and I bought the wrenches, and I get out, and I get to this cube van. It was in a stupid spot on a stupid hill. I get it hooked up, drop the shaft, and just the way it was parked after I got it moved, I couldn't swing to get out, and now I'm going downhill on a tree-covered little goat path that's not even a dually truck wide. And do you think my truck wanted to steer or stop? No, she went straight to the ditch and into some trees. And I was like, fuck, put the truck in reverse. And do you think? So my 4,500 truck with a 1-ton roofing truck on the back, I spun my rear tires. And I almost jackknifed. Anyways, moral of the story, I had to get pulled out by the other guy who was there, which kind of beat down my charisma for the rest of the day. But I got the job done, did the 180-kilometer tow back to town, and customer's happy. No damages was done, so it was a good day. It was a good money-making day. How about you?
I regret asking you how your day was now.
Yeah, to be honest, anyone who asks me how my day goes normally says the exact same thing.
So guys, before we get too deep into it, we should mention, as always, if you have any comments, concerns, questions for the show, we want to hear from you guys. We've read some comments from YouTube. We've had a couple emails come in that we're going to get to in a couple episodes. We've got a little fun on tap for today. Last episode, obviously, guys, last week got a little deep, a little darker. We wanted to make sure we brought some fun to this episode. So that's what we're going to do. If you want to reach out to us, you can email us at thetowinglife@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at the Towing Life Podcast, and you can visit the website towinglife.ca. You will find on the website there is a contact us, there is a form. You can fill out everything from there, and you can send us in the information, any questions, anything you might have. We love hearing from you guys. Also, if you are listening on the audio side, we truly appreciate you stopping by. If you could, we are really pushing the YouTube channel as of recent. If you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you are listening on audio, feel free, head on over to the Towing Life Podcast on YouTube. You'll see the links in the description. Drop a follow on that. It really does help us. You don't have to watch us on there. If you'd rather listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, hell, you can have your Echo devices at home play us. Anywhere you want to find us, we are there. But check out the YouTube. be sure to drop that subscribe. Every little bit helps, guys, and we really appreciate all the amazing support we've gotten so far.
What a crazy time to be alive. You can yell at a robot in your house, and these two ugly fuckers can start playing through it. What a time.
What's ironic is I had to call it the Echo Dot or the Echo device, because if I say the actual name of the product, I have one in this room, and it will not shut up if I say its name. So
Echo?
Yeah.
Amazon Echo?
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. I don't think it can hear you, thankfully, but
I would have fun with that.
But you can literally find us anywhere. You'll see the links on our social media as well. All the spots you can listen. So be sure to check us out. You guys have been phenomenal. The download numbers, guys, it's insane. It's insane. When G and I set out to do this, right? This would be, what are we on? Episode 13, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
When we started out of this, we had no idea that it would take off the way that it did, that you guys would enjoy the content as much as you do. And it just keeps us coming back week after week. Every Tuesday, you see those new episodes come out. So be sure to check them out.
Now shut the fuck up and let's get into it.
Fair enough. My commercial is over. It is time for the good stuff. I just came across this article right before we sat down tonight. And it's worth mentioning.
It was a good thing I was late.
Exactly. You are late getting here. I have been up all day. God damn it. I just want to go to bed. My wife is nagging me. And I'm sitting down here recording a show with my man G.
I'm sorry someone had to work all day.
So, the article is from CP24. I'm just going to read it mainly off the headline. We'll talk about it a little bit. Driver in Burlington, so Burlington, Ontario, out on the west end of Toronto, caught playing the flute with both hands. So what happened in the article from CP24, we'll post it up too, just to give them credit. They were doing a distracted driving enforcement program. We've seen them where they'll sit in a vehicle with tinted windows. They're looking for people on their phone. What these officers found was, I believe it was a gentleman, playing a wooden flute, those ones we used to play in school, while driving down the road. And he had music or something playing with his headphones in too, which is a problem in its own. Trying to match the tune, obviously, or whatever it is. So not only do we have to worry about assholes hitting us on the side of the road because they're too busy texting and driving, now we gotta, look out for the guys learning how to play Three Blind Mice on the flute.
I've seen people eating bowls of cereal while driving. I think I'm a pretty good eater while driver. In Mexico, disclaimer, in Mexico. But a bowl of cereal with a spoon and milk. I don't know what they were driving, but it had to be a small car because my bumpy ass pickup truck was just everywhere.
You'd have more cereal on you than in your mouth.
Yeah. But, that guy is definitely blowing some air through that flute because there wasn't much or he's full of air in his head because that's where he's blowing it from because that's just dumb. Just all things you can get caught and pulled over for is playing your fucking flute.
Yeah, right. We've heard
Squidward going down the road. No, that was a clarinet. Sorry, Squidward had a clarinet.
Sorry to all the musicians out there for missing that one. But no, we've heard the texting and driving obviously is a problem. The putting on makeup, I've seen commercials and ads about that stuff. Eating while driving, but playing the flute while driving, that's got to be a new one. That's a new one for me.
The old saying back in the day is you don't drink and drive. You pull over, you take a drink, and you pull back out. Do that with your fucking flute next time. Drive a kilometer, pull over, play a couple notes, and pull back out, and continue on driving.
I agree. I can't argue with that one bit. Oh man. So anyways, that just happened to come across right as we were sitting down to do this. I figured it was worth mentioning. I think it's a great story. If you want to read the full thing, check it out in the description. We'll have it up there. The one thing I wanted to get into today, G, we talked about, we're into the spring. We're into the fall. Sorry, into the spring. Into the fall. Kids have gone back to school. Myself, I'm up in more of a cottage camping area. And even the company that we used to work for where we were located was a little bit mix of that, but not too bad.
Pass-through town.
It was a pass-through town. And so this time of year, once the kids go back to school, everything's going until the snow flies, we tend to get into the slow time. Now, the slow time was always a good time to catch up on some rest, to get some maintenance done on the trucks, to get geared up for winter. But the one thing that I always found was we had those slow time blues. There was never a time that morale seemed to be as low as it was, and it was twice a year. It was September, October when the kids went back to school, leading into November until that snow flies. And where we are in Ontario, that snow doesn't get here till late December, if that. And then normally in the spring, I always hated that March and April because it would be minus 40 degrees outside, but it's not snowing. So I'm going to do about 30 boosts in the morning, but I'm not going to, you know what I mean? Like, we're not getting those big money calls. We're not doing that big work. And I always found that was the time guys seem to be burnt out. I don't know if they're tired from the summer, but that was always the time for me that you had that slowdown, that, you know, everyone was grouchy, right? I get it. Money's down, right? Most operators in Ontario, at least, are paid on commission. So when work is down, money's down. When money's down, so is morale. But it seems to be more than that. Is it a seasonal thing? Like, what is it? Have you seen that before?
They have a saying, seasonal anxiety, depression, or whatever. It says SAD. At my company, we've got another acronym for SAD. It's called suck a dick. So whenever one of us is sad, the other person just tells us to go suck a dick. But yes, I do agree with that. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I've also noticed that more damage complaints come in those times. I'm not sure if that's just people like are burnt out, like you said, and just not going that extra mile.
Yep.
Or just being as due diligent. But I know I took out my first oil pan maybe a month ago now on a Sonic, which I bought and paid for it, and it's in my shop. I'm going to clean it out, and I'm going to stick it on the wall, I think right over there, so you all can see it.
You popped your pan cherry. Congratulations.
I popped my pan cherry. I did.
About time.
I did. But yeah, it's just, I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's probably everything that you mentioned, kids going back to school. I think a lot of it is people are saving up for Christmas, so they're not going out and they're spending that extra money on fixing their cars. That's why we're slow. And the same goes for us operators, is we're saving up money, especially if you work in a company that you got to pay for your own damages. And not getting into that again today, but you're saving up money. If a damage fucking happens, well, that's your Christmas fund that you've been saving up for the last couple of months. And if something like that happens, that will really affect your morale, and you can become a cranky old man pretty quick.
But you said that the you know, people aren't putting money into fixing their cars, but that shouldn't affect us directly. If anything, that should have the opposite effect on us.
No, I'm talking about that car, especially with the COVID situation that we've had going on. I see a lot of cars that have been sitting 2 years, right? Getting those fixed in the summer, the last couple of weeks, month even, I haven't had any cars that have been sitting longer than a couple of months that were getting towed to shops.
I get what you're saying.
It's not really the time of year where, oh, well, my kid's gone to college and this is his vehicle when he comes back. They're not fixing those cars. They're fixing the cars that they drive every day, but they're spare or they're backup cars for some families. They're probably just going to say, deal with that after the holidays.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, that makes sense, right? We're going to get through the holidays. We know that COVID has been tough on everyone, and, you know, trying to save a penny where you can. I think a lot of that has actually led to us being busier during the COVID times, right? I had this argument with somebody where it was, you know, you think with less cars on the road, because COVID, you know, had less cars on the road, less people were commuting to work, we would have been quieter. And the reality is that we weren't. And I have a theory behind this one, and I'll share it with you. When people started commuting to work, stopped commuting to work, a lot of it was government jobs, higher paying jobs, everything like that. It wasn't your frontline workers, your grocery store workers, your gas station workers, your warehouse workers, all your frontline workers. It was all the mid to low paying jobs that were still working. Most of our tows, although new vehicles are, you know, bound to break down, they have their problems between electronics and everything else. But the reality is that, you know, the higher paying jobs were the ones that were staying at home for the most part. I'm not saying they're all that way, but for the most part. And I think what we are seeing is that our volume of calls that we actually, or types of car that we tow, we're still on the road pretty daily.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that really had an effect on it where, obviously we've seen slight slowdowns, but it wasn't anything that you would have expected with the numbers, especially at the beginning. For the last year, the highways look just as busy as they ever were.
See, that's a double-edged sword because a lot of people are moving outside of the cities. And I've worked for a couple of different tow companies, and I know a lot of farm guys that are tow truck drivers. I'll just leave it at that. If you know anything about farmers, you know what kind of equipment they normally run. So I know a lot of guys like that who live up in the boonies, and they tow up in the boonies. And what do they tow on a day-to-day basis? Pickup trucks and front-wheel drive cars. Now you're getting all the bougie people from the cities.
Bougie.
The bougie people from the cities moving up north or out east or out west, wherever, away from the city centers. So they're coming up with their Range Rovers and their Mercedes and their BMWs and their fancy lowered shit boxes, because that's what they are. If you got to tow it, it's a shit box. I'm sorry.
Tell me how you feel, G.
Oh, I'll tell you. And so now you're going to have operators that can do the job that they've been doing just fine, but they might not have the experience with these higher end cars because they just don't see them, right? It's just like I've towed maybe 2, maybe 3 right-hand drive vehicles. And I want to say 2 out of the 3 times I got in the left-hand driver's side to move the steering wheel around. And I'm like, oh, fuck, it's on that side. And it's the same thing with fancy cars. We had one of these problems, air ride suspension. Well, a lot of new cars have air ride suspension, and that's not a common thing. I know the old Lincoln Town cars back in the day used to have air ride.
Yep.
But now it's becoming more and more common. So now that's something that we need to teach our drivers and operators out there that are coming into it that are still a little green a year or 2 in, because that could be an everyday thing in another year or 2, is dealing with air ride suspensions.
Those damn Mercedes when they haven't ran in 3 months and the thing's sitting on the frame sitting on the ground because it's air ride.
Or the Dodges that froze up. I towed quite a few Jeeps and Rams one year. I think when I worked with the company with you, that they just froze. And it was a problem that they didn't have the right gel or whatever in the air suspension system. And they froze up and they froze down, and you can't drive the vehicle. And
what Dodges have air ride?
The Jeep Grand Cherokees.
Oh, they should still be sitting high enough, anyways. Though, even without the bags.
Well, they're still sitting high enough so you can get underneath of them, but they're low. Like wheels are touching fenders.
Yeah, we always had that customer with that Mercedes like C320 up on the island. You know where I'm talking about, and that thing. Twice a year we'd tow it, and it was sitting frame on the ground, and down a back driveway that you could barely get a flatbed into. I remember that going, you want to touch that with your wrecker? Not really. Not if I don't have to. I pity the flatbed guy.
It anywhere? No? Oh,
yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah, no thank you. No thank you. But no, so, getting back to it, it is that slower time. I don't know. I haven't really paid attention to damage claims being up on that. I've never really put those two together. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I mean, it's possible. Like I said, everyone's a little grouchier, not really paying as much attention. Stuff's going on. When you're worried about money, if that is the case, right? Your mind's kind of somewhere else.
I know when I've worried in my personal life, it takes my focus off work, which is actually a bad thing. Because now instead of paying attention to the traffic, I've got 3 other thoughts in the back of my mind that are taking priority.
Yeah.
When they really shouldn't be.
When they really shouldn't be. We should be focusing at the task at hand and only that, right? So that kind of brings us to when we talked about that Mercedes with the bags, that lady that would call us, your customer, flipping the tow and everything else. It kind of brings us to the next point that I wanted to make. And that is, how far do you go for a customer? And this is actually funny. Couple things. I have a story that I want to share with you from a call the other day. I think you and I talked about it. I'm not sure. If not, you'll enjoy it. And then I actually got an email tonight, right before recording too, that we could spin that into it as well. So how far do you go to help a customer? At what point is it not your job? And at what point are you willing to help them out? I'll give you the scenario. I get a call from a roadside, which I, as you guys very well know, am not taking passengers. 5 passengers in a car, flat tire on the 401 highway. So rule number 1 is we do not change tires on the highway.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I don't do it. I don't care. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Fuck that. I don't do it. I will tow them off the highway. Unless there's exceptions to this. There's exceptions to anything.
That's why I said wink, wink, nudge, nudge, asshole.
If they are, there's an on-ramp lane and they're on the shoulder of that, so I've really got a full lane and the shoulder between me and live traffic, I'm willing to help, maybe change that tire, but not up against a guardrail on the 400 highway where there is no shoulder. That won't happen. So I arrive at this call. Taxi arrangements have been made. We are just getting off the highway to the next exit. So taxi gets there. I hook up the car. It's a rear flat on a front wheel drive, so I'm dollying it. I've gotten really quick. I really noticed that these dollies, side note, I can get a car to roll up onto the dollies to load it with a flat tire, no problem. I fight with the son of a bitch to get it off the dollies, and I don't know why.
Really?
But we'll get back to that. So load this thing up on the dollies. We're out of there pretty quick. We're rolling down the highway. We get to the gas station. We pull over. I pull in. I unload the car, take the dollies apart, everything. All right, cool. We get the jack up. We jack the car up. We take the tire off. It was like a Kia Rondo. I open the back hatch. I go inside to grab the spare tire. Son of a bitch, this thing's a 7-passenger. I didn't know they made a 7-passenger Kia Rondo. So it's got one of those little covers. If you've ever seen them in the trunk, there's a little round cover you pop off. You can put your impact on it or the wrench, whatever you got, and you could lower the spare tire. Well, already I'm worried because I'm like, this thing's like an 07. What are the chances it's going to lower? Maybe it was an 09. I don't remember. It was an old piece of crap. 5 people in the car, remember. So we've got a whole family. We've got some people vacationing from Vancouver on their honeymoon. We've got some people from Montreal, from Toronto. It's a packed car. They've already moved all the gear out of the back thinking the tire was there when it wasn't. Go to lower it. Kind of just don't fully peek underneath, but I go, ooh, I don't see a tire coming down. So I poke my head underneath. There is no spare tire. Now, this member is not covered for anything more than getting off the highway. They have very minimal coverage. So they look at me. What do we do now? I don't know. I mean, I could, we could get the cab again. We could, find out where you want to go. It's not my problem that you don't have a spare tire. I was sent here to do a job. You don't have the equipment for the job. I don't keep tires, laying around our yard. I know there's guys that do. I felt bad for these people. It would have been easy for any operator at that point to say, and I don't think too many people would have faulted them and said, I've got other things to go do. I've got other calls, whatever it may be. You deal with your roadside. Call me back when we have an answer. What I did instead is I called. There was a shop about 500 meters away. Half a kilometer. I could have just towed the car there. It was already off dollies. I didn't want to rehook it up, everything else. I call the shop. You got a tire. Yeah, we have a tire for you. We'll sell it to you used. No problem. Comes up with a price. Great. The lady goes to me. I'll give you the money if you want to go get the tire. Have it put on, have it installed, bring it back here. Would you do that for me? I'll pay you. And she tried to hand me not a massive, but a good lump of money. And she said, here, take it. And I'm like, no. Give me the money for the tire. We'll settle up when I get back. I load their tire onto my truck. I drive over to the shop. I roll in. The guy goes to me. My guy's just left for lunch.
Fucked.
You couldn't have told me that on the phone. You knew I was coming. You knew I wasn't far. So, again, we could have walked away at that point. We could have said, we'll leave it there. We'll go for lunch. Fuck these people. No. You got a tire machine? Yep. You know how to use it? Yep. Cool. Do you mind if I change my own tire? Absolutely. Changed and balanced the tire, brought it back to the customer, put it on their car, and they were off and rolling. And it was an hour. It was an hour from the time we got to the gas station originally to the time they were rolling again. Where do you draw the line, though? At what point could I have left that call? And I'm not trying to, toot my own horn, any of that bullshit. But how many times in that call could we have left and it would have been justified? At what point would you continue on that call, and at what point wouldn't you? I got a $50 tip out of the deal. Like, it wasn't, my day wasn't done because of it, right? I spent an extra hour. But where do you draw that line? How far? I want to hear your best story. Any of you guys listening, watching, I want to hear your best story. How far have you gone to make a customer happy? Now, I will never see that customer again, ever. I doubt I'll see a review. I doubt I'll see any of that, right? I could have easily drove away when they didn't have a spare and said, call your roadside, sort it out. I could have drove away when his guys were gone for lunch. At what point, how far do you go to keep your customer happy?
Now, with that story, as much as I like that you went out of your way and was just being a nice guy, because that's not in your job description.
Right.
It was stupid and idiotic of you. Because listen,
yep.
I'm not just calling you a stupid idiot, or else I would have said that. Where are they heading to?
Montreal,
which is like an hour and a half away from where you service them.
You clearly think I'm a lot closer to Montreal than I am, but sure.
Okay, so 2 to 3 hours away. Anyway.
Yeah.
So you took a tire, you bought the used tire, so you saw it, they never did. You put it on the rim, you balanced it, and then you installed it.
Yeah, I'm an idiot.
And they're going over the 100-kilometer safe zone. If you ever have a tire change slip for a donut tire, that's your liability thing. They drive over 100 kilometers and that tire comes flying off. Well, as long as you sign that piece of paper, I'm no longer liable. And whenever I change a tire, I always state to the customer that I'm not a professional mechanic. I would advise you to go get this checked and or retorqued at your earliest convenience within the 100 kilometers, or changed, preferably get a new tire put on, and let that be their hassle. They have the insurance, they're a licensed shop, everything. So if that tire comes flying off or blows up, just the tire blows, who's at fault? Was it the tire shop that sold the tire to you? Or was it you that put the tire on because it was a used tire? You have no idea if the belts were any good in it or anything like that. It could have goose-egged and
If anyone listening to this towed a Kia Rondo between Toronto and Montreal, please forget everything you just heard, because it lost the tire especially. But no, you make a good point, and that's kind of something as an operator that sometimes we don't think about.
And that's, to be honest with you, the 9 times out of 10, I love helping people because that's what I got in this industry for. Before I was a tow truck driver, if I saw a vehicle pulled over with the 4-ways on, I would stop and see if they're all right, because I knew a lot of towers before I became a tower, so I would be able to, throw some work a buddy's way. And the amount of times that I've gone out of my way to help people, whether their vehicle shouldn't be covered or just doing an extra step to help make their day better, that turns around and bites me in the ass and ends up costing me money or get a bad review or whatever the case may be, even getting the tow truck stuck. It's bit me in the ass enough to where I'm very leery of going out of my way and above and beyond, because 9 times out of 10, when I do go above and beyond, I get fucked. Right?
Yeah, no, that's fair. And you know what? I'm enlightened. God, you've come a long way. When did you become so wise, G?
When I stopped learning from you.
Yeah. When we stopped having to work together and you stopped having to do stupid things. That's fair.
When I started working for a company where I was pretty much my own boss, I was dispatching myself. It was, I'm by myself, get it done, don't fuck up.
But no, you're right? The liability that could come in that. Like you said, what happens if that tire blows out because it was a used tire? What happens if, the wheel falls off? Now, I torque wheels, but shit happens, right? That's another question. How many guys carry torque wrenches?
I do.
Yeah. I remember for a long time.
So changing police tires, they need to be torqued.
Really? We never had that.
But at the same time,
we never, you know as well as I do, we never torqued police tires back when.
It's just the company policy that I'm with. And when you torque a tire, so let's say you change a tire on a pickup truck.
Yeah.
It's got a full-size spare.
Yeah.
You torque that tire. I know I've driven vehicles that, oh yeah, you should go get those retorqued. And
Yep.
I've never got them retorqued. Right? That's why when I do the service, I always tell them I'm not a professional mechanic. I don't have a license. And I normally, on roadsides, I normally don't torque them. I put my breaker bar on it and I kind of feel what 100 pounds is, because if I give them that certainty,
Yeah.
they will abuse that. That's why
yep.
roundabouts work so good, because people are confused about them. They slow down. They pay attention. When people are comfortable, they don't pay attention. When people are uncomfortable, they slow down, they analyze things better, and they make better decisions.
It's ironic you said that. I was just listening to a show the other day. They were talking about roundabouts and how they've made a mess of their town. And because, there's no time for reaction and everything. And you're right. It should have that effect. It'll slow you down. And it's true. You know what? Changing a customer's tire, I feel like it gives them a false sense of security when they see me pull out the torque wrench. I'm doing it because, I don't like to fully rely on 3 Ugga-Duggas is 100 pounds and 4 Ugga-Duggas is 120 pounds, right?
Yeah.
So I like that peace of mind for myself. But the question, I guess, is does torquing the wheel add more liability and risk? Meaning you have now taken the responsibility to torque that wheel. There's certain ways to store a torque wrench. Hopefully most guys are following that. You're supposed to back the tension off. Don't just leave it at 100. You'll stretch the spring out. It won't be accurate anymore. But does it add a certain level of accountability once you do go that extra mile and torque that tire?
Yeah.
And line yourself up for possibly, problems in the future.
I did a wreck the other day. I forked a pickup truck, and my manager called me, and he was like, "Do you see a white Subaru?" I was like, "No. Why?" He was like, "Well, there's a tire change right on top of you, apparently." And I was out of area. And I looked behind the truck that I'm hooking up, and I thought it was the customer's vehicle that I was hooking up. No, there's that white fucking Subaru with a rear flat tire. And I asked the customer that I was there hooking up his wreck. It was a customer request. I was like, "Do you mind if I take an extra couple of minutes? I know we got to get down to the collision reporting center, but do you mind if I take a couple of minutes to change this lady's tire?" It was for a roadside, the tire change. He was like, "Yeah, no, sure, why?" And as I'm still hooking up the truck, because I had forks and everything, I was just chaining it down, making sure and strapping. Doesn't the old bastard go into my toolbox, grab the jack, go jack the car up, uses the impact gun, just takes it out of my truck, and I'm underneath his truck right now, so I don't see any of this. And then I hear an impact gun go off. I was like, "What the fuck?" And I peek my head out, and there he is changing the tire. So then I finished loading the truck, and I grabbed the air pig or the air compressor, and I walked back and I filled the tire up to 60 psi, and they put the tire on and they torque it all down. I got the lady, I checked it, I made sure it was tight enough, and I told the lady, I was like, "2 gentlemen changed your tire. I just supervised." And I plainly stated that to her, and I still got her to sign the tire change form, wrote down her odometer reading, and she was going like 101 kilometers, and I specified to her, I was like, "This is the limit of what the manufacturer suggests." To be fair, between you and me and the fence post and anyone else listening, I've seen the same car drive down the same highway with a donut tire on it for a week straight.
Yep.
But I don't tell people that, because you give them false confidence.
If you tell them they can drive 200
confidence.
kilometers, they're going to drive 500. If you tell them they can drive 500, they're going to drive 1,000. Right? This is why we have
take a mile.
Why do you think we have working load limits? It's the same theory. The same theory applies to us. Why do we have 3-to-1 ratios, 4-to-1 ratios? Because if you tell them that is good for 10,000 pounds, they're going to put 11 on it. So if you tell them it's only good for 4,000 pounds, they're still going to put 8,000 on it, but it's within the ultimate load.
Yeah.
It is the reality of it. But that goes back to your point again then. Liability. That guy carrying your jack and your impact trips over and breaks an ankle. Who's responsible?
It was kind of funny. I really felt bad. While those 2 gentlemen were changing the tire, the elderly lady who was the driver of the vehicle
Yeah.
was around the by the passenger side ditch, and she slipped in the loose gravel and slid down the ditch. And then the one gentleman tried to give her a hand up and damn near pulled her arm out of her socket. I was like, oh boy, this is turning into a shit show. Why did I even agree to this? I know I was right here. But at what point am I really in control of that scene? Yeah, that call is technically mine now because I have access to that on the dispatching software.
Yeah.
But I haven't even made contact with that person yet. Right? I made contact with her the first when she fell down the ditch.
Yeah. It's your scene to control, and how you do that is up to you. Again, you know, because of all the liability and because of all the bullshit we see nowadays, whatever happened to being a good Samaritan? Right? You know, we used to be able to do that kind of stuff. You know, I'm not going to go on.
It's illegal to pick up hitchhikers.
I've heard that before.
It's illegal to pick up hitchhikers in some areas. I'm not sure about wherever you're listening, but
I'm not picking up a hitchhiker.
But what if they?
In all fairness, I'm not picking up roadside customers. So
yeah. So between them being sketchy and just another fucking call is the fact that they have a vehicle with them.
Yeah, pretty much, right? They're a hitchhiker with a car, and that's what makes it okay. No, that is a good point. You know,
they have a plastic card that says "I own you" on it.
but it's a reality of the world that we live in now, where you really have to take into account all these liability issues, all these risks, because it's a sue happy world. And sometimes
you want to hear about liability. I dropped off a Range Rover at a fancy dealership downtown, and the gentleman came out, greeted me, brought me around in the golf cart, moved a car, so I had 2 service advisors and one of the mechanics come out and move his personal car for me to drop this there. And I dropped it there. The person who got me to tow it through a roadside didn't tell me where the key was, just told me the key was in it. I thought they were coming back because as I was pulling out, they were going down the golf cart. Well, that car sat there for 5 days, and they had no idea it was there because I never took the key into them. But the service advisors were there dealing with the car. But it's my fault because I didn't physically take that key into the dealership, so I had to write an apology letter to the roadside company to forward on to the customer. I was a little salty in the apology letter, but it was an apology letter nonetheless.
Well, that's the breakdown in communication, right? And it happens. It does. It's not, ideal. There's definitely steps you can take to avoid it, but at the same time, it happens.
Now keys just go in the drop box.
When you tow a vehicle, where do you leave the keys all the time? Do you carry them with you in the truck?
Fuck no. No, they either go on the driver's seat or driver's floor. Sometimes in a cup holder.
You know, I started doing that a long time ago. I took a trip 400 kilometers away. I got back from that trip. I went to do something in the office. I reached in my pocket. Keys were in my pocket. We had to FedEx those keys overnight, get them shipped out there. That was a valuable lesson I learned. The keys always go in the car. And customers will tell you, oh, it locks sometimes. I don't care. I have tools for it. Because I would rather forget to drop the keys off to the garage and find out and be able to tell them, oh, they're in the car, then drive back set number of miles to find out I still have them in my pocket and have to drive back again or mail them out, whatever the best scenario is, depending on the distance. So no, how the hell did we get from how far do you go to help a customer to why liability stops us from doing any of the good things we used to be able to do? God damn, it is another wonderful episode of the Towing Life podcast whenever that happens.
But yeah, I've carried groceries into people's houses for them before after I dropped their car off. I've driven people home after I've dropped their car off, even in the wrong direction. It's little things like that, like not putting yourself out there per se, but just doing what you can within reason, right?
I always think about if it was my wife, my mother, my grandmother on the side of the road, how would I want them to be treated?
Yeah.
Right. And again, you don't have to, we're not asking to go out of your way, but at the same time, treat them with respect. Help them if you can.
They're in a bad situation. They're in a bad spot. They're on a bad day. They called you. Yeah. So they're obviously having a bad day.
Absolutely.
Don't make it worse.
Talking about bad days. Gee. we need to have a serious talk. We are going to give out. Somebody is going to make a lot of money off an idea that I've got.
Oh, the other day we pissed our dispatcher off so bad. So bad. Because one guy got sent a call and he was like, sorry, I got to poop. And he went and pooped. Then she sent it to the other guy and he was at the office and he was like, oh, I got to have shit first. And I overheard this. So then I walked in. I was like, I'd love to go do that boost, but I got to poop. She's like, why did all the drivers tell me their bathroom habits? And she started yelling and cursing and swearing. And it was fun. It's hilarious.
Well, that's funny. So that's where somebody's going to make, guys, how bad is it whenever you are on the road? I have a little fly, a little something in here. It's bugging the hell out of me.
Sorry, audio listeners. But yeah, I see it too. And it's
yeah, I know. I keep seeing this little, those aren't aliens or ghosts in my room. There is a little fly. I see him and he's making a speckle across the screen. Anyways, somebody's going to make a lot of money off this. Guys, we have the technology and we have the resources. How many times have you been out on the road and you've had to go to the bathroom? And I don't mean you can pull over on the side of the road and take a leak. I mean, you got to go.
You're playing peekaboo and you're losing.
How nice would it be? We've all been to those gas stations, those everything. You know, you got these public bathrooms. You got these disgusting bathrooms. You got these nice private bathrooms.
The private bathrooms that have the little basket to hold extra paper towel or extra shit tickets.
Yeah, and they're
It
not
smells
using
like lavender when you walk in there. It's got that nice holy shit handle. I know it's for people with in wheelchairs to put themselves onto the toilet, but I call it the holy shit handle because holy shit, sometimes you just need something to grab onto. And
I hope there's no children listening to this show. But it's true.
YouTube,
These are the real.
plus.
These are the real things that we encounter every day. We're not going to sit here and bullshit you. These are the real things. We have a gas station in town where I get my fuel, and it's a nice private one bathroom, so it is nice, right? Like I'm not one. Hey, trust me, I will. You know, we talked to Andrew a couple weeks ago from Herb's Towing. He'll drop one on the side of the highway. I myself feel a little more bougie in that if I can get a private bathroom, I'm going to take it. If I can't get a private bathroom, duty calls. You got to do what you got to do.
I go another step further. It's either the shop bathroom or my bathroom, and that's it.
But how handy would it be if we had an app? You know, I got to go 2.0. I'm even naming it for you. I want some royalties when this becomes popular of an app for truckers and tow trucks alike. I got to go 2.0 where we mark this gas station has a private bathroom. This gas station has a community stalls or whatever. Cleanliness levels. We could give it ratings. Guys, we could, how nice that be you're on the highway and you go, ooh, I gotta go.
You pull over quick,
off. You look up, there's a private 4-star bathroom at the Esso right around the corner. I'm gonna go there. Or I could go to the Flying J and God knows what my chances are gonna be.
Get herbacific if you don't build a nest properly.
Exactly. I'm telling you, if somebody knows app development, got to go 2.0 is the future of towing. Put the time in, put the marketing. I'll market the damn thing for you. But we have so many guys that stop. I know you all stop. We all do it. We're not North Korean presidents. You know, there's a rumor that the North Korean president doesn't poop.
Really?
Because he's a god. That's among the people and everything. We aren't those people. We have to go when we are on the road. And God knows our diets are not great. We've talked about that before. So somebody out there listening, got to go 2.0. Get on it. I think it's a genius idea. I'd buy it. You give it a $2.99 purchase, I'll buy the damn app. We rate the bathroom. We say how clean it was. We say if it's private or if it's stalls.
Any reading material? What
the parking is like. So you know if you're rolling in with a car on the hook.
Yeah.
Or a flatbed double picked, whatever it may be. Right? You think this red truck behind me wants to try and pull into a tiny downtown Toronto gas station? No, we need to know these things.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, somebody out there will make it happen. If you do, I hope you make millions. Please share a little bit with me because I think it is a great idea. I think we could have a lot of fun with that. Hey, we got Waze. Add it into Waze. Waze says there's a cop coming up. Instead, Way says there's a shitter coming up with a private room and
Search a
four
long
stars.
route. Best shitter around. 10-minute detour. Sounds good.
This is going to take off. Google Maps is going to integrate this.
Well, with their rating system that they have, I don't know about you, but if I'm ever hungry, I go to Google Maps and I type in fucking food or a restaurant, and the amount of reviews that they have on the map is just crazy, and it really helps inform my decisions of where I go to get stuff to put in my gut.
Well, we'll take note of that then. Why don't we talk about that next week? We'll get into reviews, company reviews, positive reviews, why it's important to build a positive review system.
I think we touched on that before in a previous episode, but we could dive in deeper.
Right. We did talk about how to deal with a negative review.
Yeah.
Maybe we could deal with on what it means to have positive reviews and everything. We don't want to give it too much away, but we will touch on it next week on the next episode. That being said, we have got to be getting close on time this week, guys. I know I've got stuff that I've got to get done. G has been working all day. He calls me lazy. I haven't worked today. I'm back at it in the morning. That being said, I got to get going. So, G, why don't you take us out?
From myself and PlainGuy here, we hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope you're going to be here next week to look at our ugly faces again and hear us ramble for 40 minutes to an hour. With that said, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye
Take
for
care.
now.